At the end of March, the 59th Academy Awards were presented, with the Best Picture and Best Director Oscars both going to Platoon, written and directed by Oliver Stone, based on his own experience as a soldier in Vietnam. The acting awards, however, went to Paul Newman for The Colour of Money, and Marlee Matlin for Children of a Lesser God, who became both the youngest ever Best Actress winner and the first deaf actor to win. Supporting actor statuettes went to Michael Caine and Diane Wiest, both for Hannah and Her Sisters, which also gave Woody Allen his third Oscar in the Best Original Screenplay category. Princess Diana opened the Broderick Ward, the first dedicated HIV and AIDS ward in the UK, at Middlesex Hospital in London. Diana made a point of shaking the hands of patients on the ward without wearing gloves to help dispel the myth that the disease could be caught from simple physical contact. A packed Wembley saw the almighty Liverpool go down to Arsenal in the League Cup final, with the Londoners winning their first trophy since 1979. Ian Rush, coming to the end of his year's loan back to Liverpool before making his move to Juventus, scored first, but Charlie Nicholas netted twice to seal the deal. And as the F1 world geared up for the Brazilian Grand Prix, a new era in Formula 1 dawned in familiar fashion, with a threatened drivers' strike. Once again, the FIA super licences were the issue, with a new clause slipped into the regulations that would see a sliding scale of licence fees dependent on how many points a driver had scored in his previous season, from $825 for a rookie or non-scorer, the previous flat fee for everyone, up to $12,000 for Prost, Mansell or Piquet. Obviously, they could afford the fees, but the drivers felt it was the principle of the thing. As usual, a compromise was agreed and it had all blown over by the time the teams were setting up in Rio for the first Grand Prix of the year. It would, it transpired, be a rather reduced grid at Jacarepagua. It was already known that the new Larousse team would be staying home and joining the circus at the next race in Imola, but the Ligier team were also absent. During pre-season testing, René Arnoux had been rather less than complimentary about the new Alfa Romeo engine in public, and the Italian firm had immediately cancelled their contract and pulled out. There were rumours that parent company Fiat had been pressuring them to do so rather than compete with their other brand Ferrari, but whatever the reason, Guy Ligier was left scrambling to try and arrange an alternative engine supply. So, 23 cars took to the track for qualifying in Rio, with pundits expecting the new limits on engine boost to be more keenly felt in qualifying. So, when it shook out to be largely business as usual, there were some dark mutterings about whether the teams had found some wheeze or workaround, which, after all, is exactly what they pay all those engineers and designers for. So, once again, it was a Williams-Honda front row, with Piquet missing out on a hometown pole by just over 0.4 seconds, with Senna third in the new Honda-powered actively suspended Lotus, but a full 2.28 seconds off Mansell, and professing himself not happy with the handling of the car. Fabi and Boutsen could be well pleased with 4th and 6th in the Ford-engine Benettons, sandwiching Prost, with Berger making his Ferrari debut from 7th. Derek Warwick a very creditable 8th in the new Arrows, Alboreto down in 9th alongside his old buddy Johansson, now in the second McLaren, rounding out the top 10. Satoru Nakajima would begin his first race from 12th, the Minardis were a very encouraging 15th, Nunidi, and 16th, Campos, ahead of the Zakspeeds, Cafe Zazella, and the non-turbo runners. Martin Brundle had said that one reason behind his switch to Zakspeed was that, having just got the hang of turbo engines, he didn't want to give them up again just yet, so he might not have been too chuffed to qualify behind Jonathan Palmer, driving his old car with its atmospheric Ford engine. The March team, having brought along their old F3000 chassis, with the F1 car not quite ready yet, struggled throughout the weekend and blew so many engines that come Sunday they didn't actually have any working DFZs left to power the car, and withdrew. So it was just 22 cars who took the start in front of the usual huge and partisan crowd. Rookie Adrian Campos, perhaps a little overwhelmed by the occasion, realised he'd forgotten to put his earplugs in as everyone departed for the parade lap, so he whipped his helmet off and did so, then put it back on before heading off to start at the back. The lights went green, and to a roar that almost drowned out the engines, Mansell made a poor start, and Piquet and Senna surged past, followed by one Benetton going either side of Mansell too. At the end of lap 1, as a black flag was put out for Adrian Campos for a breach of starting procedure, Piquet led Senna, Fabi, Boutsen, Mansell and Prost, with the two Ferraris in pursuit. As the fans and the TV coverage alike understandably focused on the Brazilians up front, Mansell got past Fabi into 3rd, and Prost got past Boutsen into 5th, and soon Mansell was sitting on Senna's gearbox looking for a way past the sunshine yellow Lotus. And then on lap 7, Piquet peeled into the pits, his tyres already going off in the heat and his side pods already full of rubbish. So Senna now led, the first time an active suspension car had ever led a race, with Mansell still right behind him and Prost, having also got past Fabi, bearing down on the pair of them, making it a three-way fight for the lead. Fabi in fact had a terminal turbo affliction and came in to retire on lap 9, and 2 laps later a flying Prost was past Mansell into second and was looking odds-on to spoil Brazil's party as he sized up Senna. In fact, the Lotus was flagging slightly, and on lap 13 Senna came in himself, putting Prost through into the lead, but only for another couple of laps before coming in himself. So now, Thierry Boutsen led for the first time in his career, with Piquet right in his wheel tracks, and soon powering past to retake the lead, 2 cheers from the stands. Nannini's suspensions failed after 17 laps, at which point Piquet led Boutsen, Mansell and Berger, with Prost 5th and Senna 6th, and was just lapping Nakajima when he came into the pits again on lap 19. The abrasive surface was fairly eating tyres, and Boutsen also pitted with a puncture and dropped down the order. So it was Mansell who now took the lead on lap 20, with Alain Prost right behind him and again gunning for the lead. Prost's tyres were fresher, and it didn't take long to breeze past Nigel, who made his own second stop shortly afterwards. Piquet was charging once more, catching up to third-placed Johansson as the pair were held up by Nakajima, while Senna made his own second stop as the race reached its halfway point. Senna had been second, so once he'd made his stop the order was Prost, Johansson, Piquet, Mansell, Berger and Patrese on lap 30 of 61. Piquet moved up to second when Johansson pitted, but by the time Prost made his second stop on lap 37, he had a big enough lead over the hometown hero that he was able to return to the track still in the lead. Piquet made a third stop a lap later, and by lap 45 Prost led Piquet by nearly 30 seconds, and at the rate he was getting through rubber, you wouldn't bet against Piquet having to stop a fourth time before the end, while Prost looked set fair to go through. Mansell was having tyre troubles of his own, suffering a left rear blowout, though not as dramatic as the last race in Australia, and limped round to the pits to get new boots, and a couple of laps later Senna pulled over from fourth. His Honda engine was making some unpleasant noises, and he decided to pull off before something broke. That promoted the Ferraris of Alboreto and Berger to 4th and 5th, with Boutsen now 6th and Mansell 7th, both drivers going hard to recover from their punctures. The two Ferraris were running together, having quite the scrap between them, as both drivers sought to establish early dominance, and as Prost arrived to lap them, he elected just to ease back and watch them with just 2 laps to go and a huge lead over Piquet. Suddenly, Alboreto struck sparks, and Berger surged through, followed by Prost. As the stricken number 27 Ferrari continued dropping back, in the end, an off-camera spin put paid to his race. Prost followed Berger home, making the Ferrari go round one more time, to take his 26th career win and his 4th Brazilian Grand Prix in 6 years. Piquet was a distant second, with Johansson and Berger making debuts for their teams, satisfied with 3rd and 4th places. Boutsen and Mansell were the beneficiaries of Alboreto's misfortune to sweep up the remaining points, and Nakajima finished his first race a very creditable 7th, albeit 2 laps down. Alboreto was classified 8th, Danner was 9th, and then the non-turbo trio of Palmer, Streiff and Fabre made up the last of the finishers to take 9, 6 and 4 points respectively in the Jim Clark Cup, and give Tyrrell a very good start in the Colin Chapman Trophy. But at 3, 4 and 6 laps down, it looked as though the turbo-Atmo divide was still something of a gulf. Prost thus moved ahead of Jim Clark and Niki Lauda in the all-time winners table, and one more victory would see him equal Jackie Stewart's record of 27 career wins. He would be hoping to do so at the next race in Imola, while Ferrari were looking forward to their home race with apprehension, considering the indifferent performance of the new car in Rio. They had 3 weeks to get something sorted.